Friends in the Corner podcast. Stories and topics from around the state of Kentucky. Welcome into Friends in the Corner podcast. I'm your host, Dan Pauly, recording from beautiful Lexington, Kentucky. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the latest edition of Friends in the Corner. We got an exciting episode for you guys today as I welcome in a good buddy of mine, Trevino Woods, known on YouTube as Big Veno. We're going to talk about his newest endeavor that he's been pursuing, this YouTube channel that he just started up. So I'm excited to talk to him a little bit more about that in this interview later. And guys, I just want to let you guys know, if you still have not followed us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, what are you doing? If you want to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get all the updates on all the cool guests we're going to be having on the show, you can follow us on those platforms at FITC Podcast. That's at FITC Podcast. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on all listening formats, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. Subscribe. And also, don't forget to email the show. You can email us for any content at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together, lowercase, at gmail.com. So subscribe, email, follow us, check us out, tell your friends. Friends in the Corner podcast is where it's at. So let me talk to you guys about something here. We've been doing this show now for about 8 months. We started it in August of 2018. Done a ton of different episodes here. By the time this episode comes out, this will actually be the 20th episode of Friends in the Corner podcast that I've done. And it's been very exciting stuff. It has been a lot of fun, a lot of stress, a lot of uncertainty, but I have enjoyed every single moment of it. And I know you guys have heard me talk about the good and bad of doing my show in previous episodes that I've done. But one thing I always am grateful for is that I just went ahead and started my show. I didn't have an idea what the hell I was doing when I did it. I didn't know where I was going to go with it, but I knew I just needed to start. And sometimes that's just the hardest part, just allowing yourself to do it. So I'm excited that for the last 8 months, we've still been going strong with this show. We've took a little bit of hiatus, but came back, and everyone has been very warm and welcoming in our comeback. Don't call it a comeback that we've been doing since we came back. And guys, it also brings me so much joy just to see other people trying to get into content creating themselves, whether that is YouTube, podcast, whether that's blogging, filmmaking, whatever type of expression that they choose to get themselves out there. I'm always excited to see new people trying to get into the games. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that with Trevino here, but I also want to talk to you guys about another guy I know who has just recently gotten into podcasting as well. Andrew Williams is a gentleman that I knew from college. We were involved in CSF at the University of Kentucky, and he has just started a new sports podcast, a new UK sports podcast called Under the Blue Banners. It's based out of Harlan County, Kentucky. So if you're in the Harlan County area, be sure to support Andrew and his new podcast. I'm also encouraging my listener base to support Andrew as well. Go to his podcast, Under the Blue Banners. There's a link in the description. Subscribe to it and listen to the first episode he just did with Aaron Torres from Fox Sports 1 and Kentucky Sports Radio. It's a fantastic interview where they talk in detail about March Madness. So go and support Andrew there. Also, I want you guys to support my guest on today's episode as well. Trevino Woods is another buddy that I knew from college. We met through our good mutual friend and friend of the show, Max Godby. And recently, he's gotten into creating videos. He started a YouTube channel back in December of 2018, and he's been, just like me, starting out trying to feel out what direction he wants to go with the channel. But he's had a lot of different exciting stuff happen to him during the period that he's been putting videos up. And now I think he's got an idea of where he wants to take his channel from this point forward. And we're going to talk about that in some detail. We're also going to have a great discussion about some of the good and bad things that happen in content creating. I know both me and him, we get a lot of joy and a lot of excitement out of the content that we both create, but we also have our struggles like many other content creators do. So we just talk about that in more detail for you guys as well, so you guys can get into the minds of what it's like to put content like this out there as well. So I'm excited. I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Let's get right into it here. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevino Woods, a.k.a. Big Veno. Here we go. Trevino, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Just got off work, and I appreciate your patience. I was a little late, but I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited to get this thing started.
Yeah, man. Well, so one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because I love watching your videos. I've been watching them since you got started a little bit later last year, and it's always exciting for me to see people who are starting to get into new creative endeavors and starting to get out there and start making content. So, whether it's podcasting, YouTube, marketing, blogging, whatever it is, it's always interesting to me to hear about how people want to get into those processes and just their mindset behind it. So just for my audience sake here, would you mind telling me a little bit about your story, who you are and where you come from and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So bit about my story, just a shortened version, because I like to be long-winded, which I'm sure is awesome for this. But my name's Trevino Woods. I was born in Nebraska. Interesting fact, Lincoln, Nebraska. And
go Cornhuskers!
I know, right? And I moved here from Georgia, where I played football here at UK from 2008 to 2012, and then after I graduated, did a series of jobs where it landed me at AT&T. And I'm currently an assistant store manager at AT&T. But I am a big dude. It's the first thing you'll notice when you see me. I'm 6'5", over 300 pounds, and that's probably the thing people notice most about me is the fact is my size. So, but yeah, that's kind of who I am and where I'm from and kind of why I do what I do.
Yeah, and me and Trevino have known each other in some circles over the last couple of years here. We do have a mutual friend and a friend of the show, Max Godby, who introduced us a few years ago. And and you got to play with Max, and we'll talk about YouTube here in a minute here. But I want to know, do you have any funny Max stories from your time playing together?
Yes, and he'll love that I brought this up, but. Max is one of the best guys I know. But on a football field, he will double cross you. He will throw you under the bus, literally. So practice, my only 2 injuries arguably came from Max. My only 2 injuries. And after 7 years of playing, he finally got me my senior year twice. First time was at spring practice. I was blocking someone. I was a right tackle, and he's a center. And I'm blocking someone, keeping him, away from the quarterback, doing my job. And Max is doing the same thing. However, he had a linebacker run up on him, and he basically threw the linebacker at the back of my knees and knocked me straight down. And the same thing happened on a defensive tackle during the season, so I missed 2 games because of Max, arguably. But he'll deny it, and he says he has people to back him up, but those were the only 2 injuries I had my senior year, and he did both.
Well, we'll have to get some info here back from Max to see how true this is. So I'm sure he'll deny it as well. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I know in the last couple months here, you've started your own YouTube page under Big Veno. And I've been interested just to see watch some of the videos you've had. I mean, you've had a number of different things from travel vids. You recently a trip to Atlanta,
yes,
Coke Factory and all that fun stuff. Pep talk videos, tech reviews, a video of you installing a new light bulb in your garage. Yep. Those are the best ones. It's like I'm building a shelf today. Right. Everyday man, Trevino Woods. So, tell me what got you inspired to start making videos?
Really, I've always been interested in photography. So when I worked at Best Buy right out of college, and I was placed in an area called lifestyles that included video games, appliances, and DI, or digital imaging. So the way I like to do my job, I want to do it extremely well. Just from football, just anything I do, I want to do it well. So I started studying cameras. I started studying, washers, dryers, appliances. I knew video games, so that was just natural. But I had to study on those and learn about them. Never mastered any of them. Never mastered anything, but I took a liking to DI, or cameras. So one of the cameras had a recall, got discounted. I bought it. And I started taking pictures and doing videos a long time ago, like in 2013. But struggling out of college financially a little bit, so I had to sell that camera. Never had an opportunity before this past year, last year, 2018, to get that camera again, or get another camera, and kind of had some inspiration from other YouTubers and content creators that I enjoy daily. I watch them, even in the shower, believe it or not.
So what type of YouTubers have inspired you?
Casey Neistat's a big one, and Peter McKinnon, just a lot of the bigger ones. Some smaller ones, there's actually one, his name is Henny the Business, and there's a song called Every Girl, from I think Lil Wayne and a lot of his, I forget the name of the group, but Lil Wayne stars in it. And Henny, the Business, he actually has like a sign in that song, the business. And so like that, he was famous for his production of that, but he started making YouTube videos, and he has a focus on minimalism. And so he wanted to, teach people how to be a minimalist and how to do things as someone who's as a content creator, but do it to where you're not having like a huge computer and taking all these things to, equipment. He wants to take a small camera and be able to create content on the go, basically. And so I saw that as a convenience in my busy schedule, and I took that camera I got, and I bought an iPad and just started doing what I thought was what I'm doing now, is just creating content.
Well, I mean, that's awesome to hear just about how, stuff like that inspired you to start your YouTube page. Just like for me, I mean, the podcasts that I've listened to are the ones that inspired me. The ones I always talk about, Joe Rogan is one that really inspired me. Something to Wrestle With Bruce Pritchard, I've always talked about too. If you're a big fan of 90s pro wrestling, it's a good little podcast. Listen. Have you never heard of it?
No. Awesome.
Yeah. It's called Something to Wrestle With Bruce Pritchard. And Bruce Pritchard used to be a producer for the WWE, WWF at the time.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, he talks about like the rise of Stone Cold, the rise of The Undertaker, all that stuff. So it's worth a listen to. It's about a 3-hour podcast, but it's awesome.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so the shows like those, I mean, even local shows here, the ones I always pitch, BBN, Chalk Talk, Off the Cuff, those guys, those are the ones that inspired me to get into my own content creating and stuff. And I'm always excited to hear about people who are wanting to get into that process as well. So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So what type of content are you looking to create? Is it just really whatever's just on the go, whatever just comes to your mind, or is there like a type of focus you want to do on your channel?
So when you look at my page, you'll notice that there's, like you said, there's a lot of different things on there. Mm-hmm. And that came from an encouragement from different YouTubers, different content creators saying, just create something, just make something. And so I just took whatever I had at the time. I'd look and ideas just came from whatever it was. And so like one of my friends, Norman, suggested I do a video on positivity, just a series, because he recognized at work that I was someone who's usually positive about whatever. Just always had a positive outlook. So I was like, all right, let me talk about that. So I started it and then just kind of ended it because I'm like, ran out of ideas. Mm-hmm. Let's do something else. So I'd go on to the next thing. And then I went to Costco. I'm a very old man at heart. And so I'll go to Costco, bought a light, and I was like, I'm going to review this. I'm going to do it like, all these other content creators do tech reviews. I'm going to review this light. And just kind of seeing what gets more views and just popping things up there and see what happens. And so I was encouraged to find a niche. That's something I heard often. So I decided Now I'm going to focus on, I'm a big man. There's a lot of other big men. And if you search YouTube and you look for big man or big men, there's actually some small man who happens to be Asian, and he has a show that's called Big Man and then his name, but it's nothing to do with big men, like stature, big men. So I was like, well, that's awesome. I'm a big man. I know all about it since I've done it my whole life. Let's make a video and let's start a series of big man stuff. And if I always thought if you are a big man, you know about it as well. You know about the struggles, you know about the triumphs, the victories, the positives, the negatives, all that. If you're not a big man, you know a big man. Everybody does. So why not? It's very relevant. So, and it's been fun. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a way I can relate. I'm not a tall man, but I'm a wide man. So I can relate to you, the struggles of finding a big and tall section and what that's like. And I think that's awesome. I think there is encouragement in words like that, especially if for those of you who have never seen Trevino in person, he is a big man. Like, I just want to do something right now. Do you mind if I see your hand? Oh my God, we're gonna get a picture of this. But it's like Andre the Giant, man. It's like that's awesome, man.
Oh yeah.
So, but I think that's a great concept to work off of and make a series off of that. So it's just supposed to be encouragement to people that maybe are big in culture. Like, what type of struggles would you say that you have as a big man in a small world? Well,
I looked at a bunch of different options, and I've condensed it down to and this is actually just very new. This is the past few days, and this is my first opportunity to talk about it, so I appreciate it. And it's my focus is going to be food, fitness, and fun. So it's something that everybody can relate to. This doesn't mean everything's awesome about food. This means that what do big men deal with when it comes to food? There's foods that we love, foods that we hate, foods we can't eat, times when you eat food, times you don't eat food, all that stuff. Times you might feel uncomfortable eating food, times when you're going to win a pie eating contest. Like, it's whatever. Fitness, same concept. You take it, you leave it. Some people don't do it. Some people do. There's struggles with it. I mean, it's very relevant. And then fun is whatever. That's big men have fun. People need to know that and see the ways that we have fun. And so, that's pretty much.
I would have loved watching the video of your trip to Atlanta recently. You guys got on one of those little rental scooters. I was like, I would have paid so much money to see you on one of those scooters there.
Hey, if we can get them to come to Lexington, we'll hopefully. I think it was Lime scooters. It's awesome.
Yeah, they're in all these other cities. I've seen them in Louisville, St. Louis, and all that stuff. I think there's some. I don't know if it's just some agreement with the spin bikes or something like that, why we can't get the scooters here. But come on, Lexington, let's go, scooters, baby.
They're awesome. They're really awesome and cheap. That was one really big benefit.
So was this a thing in college? I just noticed that being buddies with Max in college, I got to know a lot of different football players during my time there at UK. And mopeds were just a big thing. Like, every football player I knew had a moped. The one that sticks out to my mind was a player who was a little bit younger named Zach Meyer. He would drive. He big boy, just driving around on a small moped all around town.
Yep, that was the thing. If you can, they were pretty cheap, and especially if you got those grants or that extra income on top of your scholarship, you're probably going to go blow it on something. And that's another thing. And most big men had them, so big guys don't like to walk, and it's just extra energy you got to expend. So why not get a moped?
You could always tell who was a lineman on campus when they were driving a small moped around campus there.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, just some of the different ebbs and flows that we go through as content creators. That's something I would love to get into a little bit more. Like, what's the stuff that you love about the content you create? What's the joy you get out of it? And also, what's some of the hard times that you struggle with? I know we both, for a period of time, we went on a little bit of a hiatus on both of our channels because we had life going on, and then we had to eventually come back to it. So what do you think are some of the high points and low points as a content creator for you?
It's a really good question, and it's something that you don't see behind the scenes. And so I think it definitely deserves the attention. The high points, the things I enjoy most about it, are the just creating. And once you take what I consider a mess, I'll record a video, And it's just while I'm doing something, or I'll plan something and then record it. But you're going to mess up. You're going to have hiccups. You're going to have all these different things. You're going to have, say out of 45 minutes of recording, you're only going to condense that down to maybe about 3, when I do it, when I edit, it's down to 3 to 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. It might be 45 minutes of recording, and you condense it down. That process is great because it feels like I'm just taking, a mess of things, and you're condensing it down to something that's appealing to an audience or to a select group or to just anybody. And so that's amazing. It just feels like you're cleaning something up. And then, take a house, for example. You got or your junk drawer. Mm-hmm. Like, think of how awesome it is to take and look at your junk drawer. And then, like, you know what? I'm just going to organize this today. You just you get you a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever's going to get you in that mood. And then you go and clean it up. But that feeling you get after you get done, it's the same way as far as creating content. And so that's my plus. Mm-hmm. But the minus is, of course, trying to balance things out. And where that looks, just real life, you try to, for example, I'm in a relationship and I want to make sure that relationship is getting all the attention it deserves. And
while she calls you.
Right. And this is her calling me the second time. But, for example, editing that stuff, as you can imagine, would take some time. If you're looking at 45 minutes worth of video and you're condensing it down to 3, you're going to look through 45 minutes of video more than once. Mm-hmm. And so that could take, hours or whatever. Yeah. That's time that you could be spending with a significant other. So you want to make sure you're respecting the time that, you guys have agreed, or, the time that you need to spend together while spending your time creating.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, if you're anything like me too, I mean, I'm sure you have the same process, because when you're working on something, you want to make it perfect, and you can piss yourself off with all the minor details trying to make that thing as perfect as possible, and that can be very time consuming. I know for my show is that way. I have a bit of a history in video editing myself, and that was the same way too, because it takes so much time just to do it.
Yes.
And then when you get done, even if it's a 3-minute video, it's like an hour-long rendering process too. So yeah, I'm sure you've learned all about that. It's like the timing of making a video.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm right there with you as a content creator myself. That I've gone through a lot of this in the last year. Just kind of similar to you, when I started my podcast, I had no idea what direction I wanted to take it in. I just knew I wanted to do a podcast, and when I was starting it, I just said, I don't know what I'm going to do the full process with, but I know a lot of interesting people, like Max, and I can get them on my show, and I can talk to them about different stuff, and it's great. And that's how we just started. Just did it, and now we've come to this point, and we've gone through those ebbs and flows, where it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm in a relationship too, and I wasn't given the time I needed to that relationship. I wasn't given that time I needed to my employer at the time, and that I had to set the show aside until I was ready to come back to it. And yeah, it can be hard, especially when this isn't a full-time job at the moment. It's just a hobby. I'm sure it's the same way for you. Hopefully maybe it can be something like that down the road, but we all have to make sacrifices. So
that's very true.
Yeah. So one person that I saw on one of your videos that I wanted to ask what kind of advice he gave you is a local business owner here in town named Chandler Lyle, who I'm hoping to have on my show sometime here soon. We've had some conversations in the past and stuff, but Chandler Lyle is the owner of Lyle's Barbecue. He's got 2 locations here in town, one in the Fayette Mall and one on Clays Mill Drive. Be sure to check him out. But he has this amazing concept of using media and using YouTube to help promote his business, help promote what his business stands for. And I know you got to sit down and talk to him. What kind of insight did he give you when you had the chance to meet and talk with him?
He's an awesome guy, and he gave me some really good advice that if executing that, and the advice, basically, I'll just get into the advice. So he gave me some really good advice that included really just going hard and going at it. So when it comes to creating that content, don't hold back. Challenge yourself when you're creating it, and do more than what you think you're capable of. And so, for example, if you go to my channel, you'll see I started a 30-day challenge and got through 2 days or 3 days, and then you didn't see content for maybe a month after that. And so that was something that he challenged me to do, which I still plan to do. Just the timing was off due to circumstances of balance and what we talked about just a minute ago. Mm-hmm. So best advice he gave me was just to go for it and don't think about it so much. Just execute and do it. And, if I get, because my plan is to have, like not a current plan, but what I was planning prior to the meeting was just to have, a video a week. But out of 52 weeks out of the year, that's 52 total videos that I would have. Mm-hmm. He challenged me to do 30 of them in a month. So if I do one per day, that's 30 videos, 30 pieces of content that I have within 1 month versus, that's 60% of what I would have with my plan in a year. So why not? That sounds awesome, and more opportunity, and it's relevant. And so he's been doing it a lot longer than his page would show you, as far as the creation, but he just focus on good content, but not focused on what you think is good content. Put it out there and let them decide what's good. Yeah. And it was just really awesome. And I was really encouraged by it, but the timing was a little off, and I just had to find the balance, really. Mm-hmm. So.
No, I totally get that. And I think that's important what you said about timing, and I would love to dedicate all my time just to creating my show, just like you probably would love to dedicate all your time to creating your show. But like we were just mentioning, we have lives we gotta live, we've got commitments we have to do. So sometimes the demand we want to keep up with doesn't quite meet the demand of our lives. But the worst thing you can do is give up on your content, and that's how I feel. I was able to do a weekly podcast for a while, but now I can't do it. So now I'm trying to do a bi-weekly podcast, or maybe even get to a point where I only put one podcast out a month. I don't know. But hopefully I can get back to the point where I can do a weekly show, maybe a daily show, what have you. But it's all about getting your vision together, putting it into the time frame that you have compared to everything else, and just keep on trucking until you find what's going to be the right fit. And I admire that you even said, all right, I tried the 30-day challenge, didn't quite work. I might come back to that another time, but at least I'm putting something out there. Maybe not on the schedule I want it to be, but at least I'm putting something out there. I think that anyone that's willing to put themselves out there, I think that's the hardest thing, honestly, is putting yourself out there. I know for me, that was one of the things that was the biggest struggle in the start, was just doing it. But once you kind of get over that, it's pretty, I won't call it easy, but it's pretty blessed by that point. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And especially I definitely, on that, being in front of a camera, mm-hmm. I'm not sure, because obviously you doing the podcast, I'm not sure how much, if that's any different. But I get a lot of I get really self-conscious, especially the first time I saw myself on camera. I'm like, I hate this, Oh, yeah. And then hearing yourself, right.
Hearing yourself is the worst.
Yeah, but you get over it. And like you said, I 100% agree with that. That is a huge obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. So where does the channel go from here? What videos have you already got a set of videos you're ready to put out right now, or is it just kind of going shooting by the hip, taking your camera where you go and going from there?
I'd say a little bit of both. So I plan to do at least a video a week still, but increase that to 2. Some videos are going to be split into 2, but I have a goal to just keep it centered around that food, fitness, and fun. And with that, it's you're always going to see one of those 3 in every video, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. But it's mainly going to be like a vlog type video, where it's going to be my experiences. But also I plan to collaborate with, you in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
And a few other people that are big, or, just. And another part about that big man, I believe it's a mentality as well. big people getting held to a different standard. I think in some cases, think of like an airplane ticket. I've heard instances where if you're bigger, you charge more because you're bigger for a plane seat. And regardless of this, the conversation, to be able to be told that, you got to be able to have a certain type of, you got to be able to accept that in a way. And it's going to suck, but at the end of the day, are you able to get past that?
Yeah.
And you got to have a good heart. You got to have, because I would imagine most people would probably get a little confrontational when you hear that. Like, are you going to charge me more than more, people? I'm the same person, I'm still one person, but, so it's more of a mentality, the things that you go through.
You can even put that with clothes. I mean, when you buy anything that's above XL, it costs a little bit more, pants, jeans, and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Unless you go to Dillard's last week, like I did, and you see this sweater. I got this sweater for $12.
Hey,
the original price was like $70. But I'm telling you, I need to get that, and that's why I want to do this channel. I've recorded some of that, but decided not to put it in a video just out of concerns for copyright, or I don't know. But if I can clear that up and research, then I'll put that in a video and tell everybody. It's awesome.
It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission sometimes.
Absolutely.
So that's what I've learned in some areas. As a new content creator, what is something you wish someone told you at the start that you know now?
It's a long process would be the exact term. And when you get started, you expect these things. You expect to be, you expect to hit 1,000 subscribers, and you expect to get all that recognition all up front and start to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize certain people have been doing it for years and in the same position that I am, and just be prepared to not get it quick,
Yeah.
And so there's no easy way to do it. You're going to have to work with other people. You're going to have to do all these other things, but ultimately it's a long process, and you have to have, some the backbone to keep it up and to not give up.
As someone that's new to the game, I'd love to ask, man, how can I help you out any more than with what I'm doing?
This is awesome, and I appreciate you, inviting me into this, because it's a privilege to be on your, in your sphere as well, and be able to be on this podcast. And it's fun, man. I love talking about anything, especially talking about it with you. You have you're interviewing other interesting people, but you've got bourbon. I mean, the things that you've done, the things you've experienced. It's been awesome. But
I needed a reason to get drunk on a podcast.
That's awesome. So, but yeah, for me, you're a big man regardless. And even if you weren't physically big, you'd still have a big man's mentality based on some of the experiences I know you've had. So just collaborating, and we're going to do something soon.
Absolutely.
We might literally just go out to dinner. I think there's Pizza Week. There's something coming up.
Like some Burger Weeks in July, but is there a Pizza Week? Oh, my gosh.
There was one. It was announced. I don't know when it is. It may have already passed, actually, but something. There's going to be something. So hop in the video. We'll have a good time and do whatever.
That sounds great, man. Well, and I'm all for content creators helping other content creators in this area. And I think that's true for anyone that's probably listening to this episode. If you're new to the game of content creating, and if you want to learn more, reach out to both of us in some way. We're on Twitter and all the social medias. You can get a hold of us there.
Yes.
And we'd love to just help each other out. I think that's one of the cool things about Lexington is that this is a city that loves to kind of help and support other people in a way that I haven't seen other cities do. And that's why I love living here so much, is because of that type of community that we've got here.
Absolutely. And that's what drove me to stay here, really.
Yeah, me too.
Being from Georgia and all my family's up in Nebraska, I decided to stay here because it was a real good family feel. Mm-hmm. And, this is just evidence of it. I never knew you prior to us meeting in college. And, I don't know if it weren't for that connection with Max that we'd ever even be sitting here talking to each other.
Right.
And it's awesome because, we're on the same page and we're both getting getting our trying to put our right in front of our left and get this thing going. So
just trying to make it one day at a time. I'm turning 28 this week, and I'm like, all right, what am I doing okay now?
I know.
I was like, oh boy. So
yeah.
But Trevino, I just want to say thank you for coming on, brother. I'm looking forward to doing more content with you down the road. At this time, I just want to give this platform to you. If there's anything you want to share, upcoming videos, social media, this time is yours.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Well, you can find me on YouTube. You can literally just search Big Veno. That's just BigVeno. And Twitter, it's the same Big or BIG_VENO, and Instagram as well. But and honestly, if you're a bigger guy, I'm here. I want to collaborate with you. I plan to do interviews in the future. The weather's gonna be a lot nicer, so I'm gonna be out and about. And I plan to set, a perfect idea I had was to go and sit at a park and interview people and just ask them, dude, who's a big man in your life, and how does he influence you, or what is his impression? What is your impression of him? And it might be a family member, it might be a friend, but everybody knows a big guy, and I would venture to say most big guys are good guys. Mm-hmm. But contrary to popular belief, some people would assume the bigger the badder. When you think of a bad guy, you think of some big muscular guy who's gonna rob you, or some big muscular guy who's gonna take advantage of you in some way. Most of us are just really good guys, great mm-hmm. character. We get the best girlfriends, and we all look good. There's always one really great attribute that stands out more, and it's our our attitude about things. And so
giant frame and giant personality, giant heart.
Yeah, exactly. And a giant temper at times. Don't cross us, Max.
Gauntlet thrown down. All right, Trevino. Well, thank you again. Check out his YouTube channel. We're going to link it in this description below. And guys, be sure to continue to follow and support all of your local content creators. Big men, follow this guy. He'll take care of you here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Till next time.
All right.
All right, and that's it for us here on this episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. I want to thank Big Veno for coming on and sharing a little bit about his new show, his new YouTube channel that he's doing. Everyone, you should go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Search for Big Veno in the search bar on YouTube. I'll also have a link in the description for you guys to go and subscribe to as well. And guys, until next time, if you want to keep up with other episodes coming up on Friends in the Corner podcast, be sure to subscribe to all of our channels, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. And be sure to follow us on social media at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. And email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, at gmail.com. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. Tune in the rest of this month for some other great content, including recapping the March Madness tournament and previewing the NFL draft. It's going to be a fun time. That's a wrap.